Okay, could we have roll call, please?
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Roll call for today. Let's see. Chair Dunn.
Here.
Member Bright Cruz.
Here.
Member Mateo Bowen. Okay, thank you.
Okay, we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. One nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice. Welcome to the Solid Waste Authority Executive Committee, Education and Outreach Subcommittee meeting. And we're going to start with public comments, 2 minutes per person. So, Mr. Richard.
There you go. Thank you.
Okay, good morning. Season's greetings to all of you, and I wish you all very happy holidays with your families. Good morning. My name is Richard Ramcharatar, Southwest Ranches. I'm with Broward Clean Air, and thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I'm here to raise a cautionary example from Palm Beach County and to respectfully urge Broward County Solid Waste Authority not to move down a similar path, particularly as this subcommittee helps shape how the solid waste master plan is communicated to the public and the 28 interlocal agreement member cities. In Palm Beach County, 100% flow control combined with a waste to energy incinerator has led to aggressive enforcement against source separated food waste, organic material that had been responsibly composted for years. Recently, commercial composting contracts were terminated. Customers were issued cease and desist letters, and this commercial recyclable organic material is now being burned instead of reused. This happened to Fertile Earth Farm. They lost 2 contracts, one with Starbucks and one with Whole Foods. It was just announced yesterday by the owner of that company. This did not happen because composting failed. It happened because disposal infrastructure and financial pressures began driving policy. I raise this here because the Broward County Solid Waste Authority, the final master plan, commits the county and member cities to prioritizing waste reduction and diversion, including recycling and organics management before disposal. Education and outreach are central to making those commitments real. If flow control now or in the future is used in a way that discourages composting or other diversion strategies, it would directly conflict with the goals this subcommittee is charged with helping to advance and explain. My request is modest and squarely within this subcommittee's role, that it be duly noted that education and outreach materials should, 1, clearly support recycling and organics diversion, that 2, flow control should never be framed or applied as a barrier to those practices, and 3, the Palm Beach County experience be reviewed as a cautionary example before future policy or infrastructure decisions are made. Broward still has the opportunity to lead by ensuring that what we educate the public and cities about today remains aligned with the outcomes we intend to achieve tomorrow. I just have 2 more sentences. Can I do it? Okay. Once disposal infrastructure begins to drive education and messaging, diversion goals quickly erode. Broward still has time to avoid that outcome. Thank you for your time and for your work on behalf of our communities.
Thank you, Richard. Stephanie?
Hi, my name is Stephanie Joffrey. I'm just going to reiterate some stuff I said at the last meeting. I want to thank you for producing such engaging videos and public service announcements The emphasis on public health and cost stabilization is essential, and I appreciate how thoughtfully that message has been woven throughout your work. That said, I do have a few suggestions I hope you'll consider as you refine these materials. First, in the flow control video, it refers to waste to energy plant as being at capacity. I'm not sure the public is familiar with the term waste to energy. And even if they are, it may unintentionally suggest that expanding that capacity would allow us to simply make garbage disappear while generating more energy. Couldn't be better than that. Since the video later uses the plain language phrase burning garbage, I believe that terminology should be used consistently throughout. It's more accessible and it aligns better with the public health message we're trying to convey. The children's video is charming, powerful, and memorable. However, a very young child using the phrase waste to energy plant feels out of place. Burning garbage is something a child could realistically say, and it keeps the message authentic and clear. The same terminology concern applies to the PSA and the Solving the Waste Crisis videos. Consistency in plain language would help the public understand the issue more easily. In the flow control video, I'm concerned that saying we chose scenario A may open up a whole new set of questions. I would leave it out. It's no longer relevant and it could bog us down. In the Solving the Waste Crisis video, the plan is described as built on 12 white papers. Since everyone may not know what a white paper is, it may be clearer to use more familiar language or include a brief explanation just to make sure the message is accessible to all viewers. Finally, I want to highlight a great suggestion that came from Vice Mayor Nancy Mateo-Bowen, the importance of a clear, memorable slogan, something equivalent, she said, to the Buckle Up campaign. I strongly agree. A unifying slogan would strengthen the entire outreach effort. Looking ahead, I'd love to see all future videos
Thank you.
incorporate that idea. Thanks again for all your hard work.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your suggestion. Duly noted. All right, moving on to the next item on the agenda, meeting minutes. Any changes, suggestions, amendments? If not, could I have a motion to approve, please? Oh, I guess I'll second it. All right, any opposition? All right, it passes. All right, turning it over, supporting the yes. What do you got for us today?
Good morning. So I thought it'd be helpful if I just, for the public's knowledge, ran through the edits we've made thus far and why, just summarize. As a reminder, this toolkit that we're talking about right now was meant for elected officials to use when they're going to their commissions. In that, additional materials were requested, and now I believe most, if not all of it, could be used by our community partners to help educate and give presentations as they see fit and use the materials. The goal is to get it posted to the website soon, maybe today even. So that's my big question. I'm going to review the edits, but I think my team's in a gray area of like, is it approved? Do we need to go back to executive committee with these edits? Are we good to go? So I'd love to have a conversation about that. Would you like me to go through the changes we've made and where we're at? Okay. So we did replace the term white papers with research and studies and more.
Is it possible for you to pull it up?
Oh,
Please.
well, the white papers is in the video. So I don't know if you want me to like replay everything or just pull up the presentation.
The presentation, yeah.
Okay, that one's not in the presentation. Elisa, I'm going to send you a fresh link and you can just pop that out.
While you do that, can we have some clarity from legal, please, Ms. Smith? What's the process in terms of getting a final approval? Do we take it back to the executive committee, I'm assuming, on Friday, and then they vote at that time?
That is correct.
Okay.
Okay, while she's pulling that up, we can talk through waste to energy this is what the technical team is recommending for various reasons. And Todd, I don't know if you want to speak to that a little bit.
With regard to the various terms, waste to energy, incineration, burning, it's at the incineration and the burning references are somewhat viewed more negatively within the community, within different portions of the various groups. It was decided early along last year that at one of the executive committee meetings that we would focus more on the term waste to energy, because waste to energy incorporates not the old technology or incineration or burning. It does deal with emissions. It does deal with various emission control systems. And that was the guidance that we were given with regards to any references to waste to energy, is to stay within one area, waste to energy, because it incorporates, at least with waste to energy, all of the emission controls that are associated in the modern emission controls. In addition to that, waste to energy is something that the EPA and the various guidance and regulatory items refer to. They don't refer to the incineration or the burning aspect of it. So we just wanted to stay in that lane.
Chair. Just a response to that. I understand that. I think one of the things that we need to keep in mind is our audience. And when we were dealing with people that were generally informed on the governing board, certainly on the executive board, I think we all understood what waste to energy was. But in the general public, they may have never heard that word before. They may have never heard that phrase before. And they may have no clue what we're talking about. And they may not. Here we had 2 waste to energy plants in Broward County. We're down to 1. And they very possibly, I think probably will not make the connection between waste to energy and that facility. And so my thought, and I, had expressed it before, is that I don't want to beat it into anybody's, mind, but I think we have to make that connection up front. I think we have to. I don't have a problem with waste to energy. You may be familiar with that, with the term incineration, and then move on and use waste to energy from there on. But we've got to make that connection. And I think that it's inaccurate and will be misleading to very possibly the majority of the residents that we're trying to communicate to if we don't make that connection. Thanks.
Is there a way to do that? What's the middle ground here? Is there a way for us to still, because I think both points are on point, right? Like
I'm open.
Yeah.
We're looking for guidance here, and that was the original guidance that we went through. Yes.
So Lori, my question to you is, from a communication perspective, is there a way that we can honor the, I think, research-based opinion of the consultant, which is valid, but then also honor the fact that we need to use plain language? What's the middle ground? Like, could we, for example, say waste to energy and then right after that explain what it is in a communication way?
I think we do need to be consistent in what we're using across the board. And the way we had done it was in the shorter videos. That's why we ended on the term burning, because it was just more public facing and it was shorter. In a 15-second video spot, we don't have time to say, which is the same, and this is why, and this is how it gets processed. So in some materials, yes, but in some we don't. I mean, we can certainly throw a slide in here of just, or we can just say, and of course, all these terms are available on our website, and we can expand our glossary, and there's always a home base of where you can learn more about it, and that can always be part of this.
How about if we come up with some guidelines, very simple, I'm not trying to be complicated, right?
Yeah.
So that if we're developing an asset that's under 30-second, we use this phrase.
Mhm.
If we're developing an asset that gives us more time to use both so that people understand, then we do that.
Okay.
And then if it's something in writing, then obviously we can, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that makes a ton of sense. And once again, I'm not looking for every time we use waste to energy to use the alternate form. What I'm saying is like in any kind of formal paper, you may use initials throughout it, but at the first time you use it, you explain, you give the full name of it. And that's kind of what I'm looking for. Just the first time we use waste to energy, and you may be familiar with this as incineration, and then move on. And every time you use it after that, it's waste to energy. And it's just that one phrase.
Okay,
Just
we
to
can
make the
include
connection.
that. That definitely is possible. In terms of the at capacity, that is the direct language that SES provided to my team. The waste to energy plan is at capacity and the in-county landfill is nearing capacity. That is the language that they asked us to use because we are communicating, again, the feedback we received when we did our one-on-one discovery sessions was members of my own commission might not be aware that we're in a problem. So we needed to spell out, even my call with the PIOs, you were on it. I started with 4 simple questions. How much waste do we generate every minute in Broward County? One person said 10 pounds. These are the most informed people, not just because I'm one of them, in my opinion, because they're pushing out all the information. They see everything. So that showed me we're at ground zero. We need to spell out, we're generating too much garbage. We're running out of a place to put it that's acceptable. We have a plan, and then we go from there. We need to do that with this very first step so that all of our community partners and commissioners and things have this information and everybody. And on my school call, just Monday, same thing. I asked them the same question, how many pounds per minute? They had no idea. And they were like, we want the same information that you guys are pushing out. This is what we want for our students. So it is important that we're consistent and we spoon feed our message in this way so that it all makes sense when we get to the solution. People don't know the problem, they're not going to be on board with the solution, right? Okay. All right, so I'm good with that. We'll add that in there. The one other suggestion we received in November was, the term waste crisis versus environmental crisis. We understand that different members of the governing board have an appetite for different language. No problem. We changed it to crisis. When you're presenting it, if you want to call it a waste crisis, awesome. Someone else wants to call it something else to their elected, no problem. So we just went with crisis. Are you all okay with that? Okay. Include messaging on how, so this was another piece of feedback, control their own destiny. Can you, Elisa, flip through? It's like slide 16, I think. Sorry. Okay. Control of our waste management system is the language we now included. Okay. I think control our own destiny, yeah. We've also included the term best value, which was, another piece of feedback we received was, and I know there was communication about this, lowest and best price. Again, met with the technical team, best value was a term that they were very comfortable with. And I think, again, if somebody wants to take that in their own direction and explain that, great, but we have best value and stabilized costs over time. And then the legal had one note, which was to just edit the timeline slightly, and we made that edit. And those are the major changes.
Quick comment. So I'm good with all those. I just triggered something in my brain that I wanted to share. I'm going to be sharing this a lot. So we've had conversations in the past, and we talked about the best value, kind of what the cost is for really doing a program like this. And we've had numbers thrown out that it's going to be 100% increase and 150% increase. And in an election year, that's going to be a real challenge to overcome. So I went back and took 2 paths. One was I requested from my finance team at the ranches to give me all the waste numbers for the last couple of years. Yeah. And then I went to WM and I asked them the same question. And this is what I said. Tell me what it would have cost if we had, because we do recycling. We've been doing it for 15 years. So I said, we have all the numbers. Tell me what it would have cost if we hadn't done recycling, if we had just not had that program and put everything into regular solid waste and taken it to the dump or burned it, versus what we actually did. So these are not projected numbers. These are not like what if numbers. These are based on actual numbers from Southwest Ranches on what it would have cost. And I approach it the two ways. I figured it out based on what my finance team gave me, and I asked WM to come up. And fortunately, it doesn't usually work this way, but fortunately we came up with the exact same number. And here's the number. In 2024, if we had not done recycling, it would have cost the town 3% more. 3% more. In this past year, 2025, to date, it would have cost us about 4% more. So we need to be, as far as education is concerned, obviously we can't say, okay, we can't promise numbers. And so I like the value, but we have to really squash this bad information that it's going to cost you 100% or 150% more. That is so misleading, so negative, and just so factually untrue that we really have to squash that. And I'll be bringing that up in the executive meeting coming up. But it came to my mind there, and I thought, well, I've got an audience here I'm going to take advantage of. Thank you.
One thing we might want to do is consider updating our FAQs, especially as I know the cost analysis is happening in January. But we might want to or do a Mythbusters for Solid Waste Authority. If as misinformation, disinformation flows, we might want to just kind of get control of it in a very plain speak way. You may have heard it's 100, 150. It's not going to be that. And if we're ready to say that message now, let me know and we'll put something together on it. Or if you'd like us to wait till January to do something like that, no problem.
I'd love to see that because I think it's going to be one of our biggest changes.
And I would say let's wait until we get the financial modeling first before we put anything that. But I like the idea of doing a fact versus myth, maybe a carousel post or something like that. I think that's a great idea. But man, that's so smart. Okay. So that works well for cities who are currently recycling. Then they can do that comparison. But I'm not sure if my city is that robust at recycling. So perhaps not.
The thing is that if you work off of rates that haven't been negotiated, and if you're assuming, the assumption is that, okay, here's where the numbers came from, because I actually sat down with the individual from Broward County that kind of threw out that number. And I said, how did you get that number? And so basically it was that they looked at the non-negotiated rates, which were about double for disposal for recycling versus normal waste. And that's where the tipping fee is so misleading, because that's what has come up in the past. Well, the tipping fee is double, so it has to be double. But here's the difference: is number one, the recycling materials generally are much lighter than the other materials. It's plastics, it's cardboard, it's things like that are not as heavy. And second of all, you're not moving all the garbage from your garbage to your recycle. If you were to move it all, then that would be true. But you're only moving a portion of it, and it's the lightest portion. And that's why it has a minimal impact.
Okay, so we're good with this. You're good with that?
Yeah, fine.
Okay, I'm
Thank
good
you.
with it.
I just got one comment
Yeah.
with regards to that. Yeah, especially with regards to that comment. There are cities.
I'm sorry, I was talking about the toolkit.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I was talking
go
about
ahead.
this last comment from Member Brighters. There are, a very broad statement. And I think there was discussions with, especially that one member with regards to that phrase being used going forward, especially by Chair Ryan. However, there are, every city's at a different stage. All right. Some do not have any recycling right now, and the cost difference for them is going to be considerable going forward. And we need to work through that appropriately, and we'll understand what that is, which I think you explained already very
Yeah,
well.
but it won't be. I mean, that's what I'm saying is,
It's probably not, you're right. It's not going to be 100% more. You know,
why
it
do
could
you
be-
think it will be more than, say, 5%?
if you're not doing any recycling right now, all right, there
That's
is-
what I compared. If we had not been doing any recycling
when I
versus
say
our
that,
recycling.
because it's the equipment and everything that would need to be purchased to go back out on the street.
And I asked about that. And I asked that specific question because I was baffled at how low it was. And so I set up a separate meeting with WM, who's our vendor. And I said, no, wait a minute. I said, this is just the tipping fee portion. Talk to me about the collection portion. There's got to be an increase there. And she smiled and she said, nope, because we're still picking up the same amount of debris. If we just did the solid waste without the recycle, we would have to have multiple trucks out there to pick up that solid waste. And it would have been over multiple days. So we would have the same number of drivers, we would have the same number of trucks. And she said it does not factor in. That was from them, not from me.
We'll be going through the analysis, but the phrase with regards to 100% more is exaggerated. All right. But there is a percentage that we'll be able to demonstrate with regards to the financial modeling.
So I think we're
Yeah.
agreeing that we're going to wait until the financial modeling to make any public statement. So if you're okay, kind of get a consensus on the edits to the toolkit. So we have a consensus. So we'll bring that. You can bring that on on Friday. Anything else on the toolkit?
Let me just clarify so I'm clear of what I'm doing on Friday. I'm presenting the edits just as I've done with you today.
Mm-hmm.
And asking for consensus so we can post the items to the website and make them available.
Correct.
Perfect.
And through the executive director, he can send that out to the governing board members.
On Friday or before with this waste to energy clarified.
Well, like once we have an approval on Friday, then the next step is to get this out to the public. But before we get it to the public, it needs to go to the governing board members.
Are you open to my team change, because you know we work fast, changing the waste to energy clause today and sending it to them before Friday? That way they can see
Yep.
what I'm presenting has been completed. Okay, great.
All right, so moving on to the next item, discuss campaign slogan ideas. You have some ideas for us to think about?
Of course. So looking back, 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, when we developed the logo and the brand, the initial brand for the authority, Plan Smart, Recycle More, Waste Less is what's been on our logo. It's on our promotional materials. It was simple, it's to the point. Member Mateo Bowen asked for a buckle up type slogan that we can start using in our digital media. When my team brainstorms, we meet, we throw out ideas, we don't really take notes, we verbal, and we came up with 5. And whatever your process is, we're happy to follow. If you want to take a vote, have the governing board take a vote on them, whatever, I'll read them out. Lighten the load.
I'm sorry, just to
Yeah.
be clear, this
Yes.
is for the campaign, not for the authority, correct?
This is for our digital outreach. It could go on our promotional materials. It can be used in all of our materials if you'd like. We can even update the logo.
Okay. So I actually like the authority
Great.
slogan, but I love this as a campaign slogan. You know what I mean? As we get to the yes.
Perfect.
Are you okay with that? Okay. All right. Let's hear the ideas.
You got it. All right. We have 5. Lighten the load. Let's sort this out, which has a double entendre of crisis, and we got to fix it. And we also got to do a better job with what we do with our waste. Put waste in its place. Slow the flow. And if you know, so flow is right. So there's a double entendre there. So slow the flow, so flow. Sort smart waste less.
The 3 in the middle. I'm choosing between those 3.
Don't we eliminate the 2 that we don't like and then leave 3 and then we could vote on Friday? So for me, let's sort this out should be one.
Yep.
Slow the flow. And what was the other one?
Put waste in its place. Also double entendre.
Yeah, those are awesome.
Yeah, I agree with that. So the middle three.
Would you like us to put together a digital survey today that can go out to the executive committee so that we can get a vote prior to Friday?
I think it'd be better to maybe have, what do you call one of those? Do you know how when you're doing a meeting and you can do like a meter thing and people can vote on the spot? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about.
And then just have them vote and then have it up on the screen during the meeting.
We haven't.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? Oh my
What-
gosh.
What do you use for it?
It's a website. It's very simple. They
Okay.
scan a QR code, gets on the website, and then they vote.
Okay.
And then when they vote in real time, the results come on the screen. Yeah.
See what we can do.
Great.
I mean, it's simple.
Send me the link to the website. My team will do
I
it.
don't, if I could remember what it's called,
We'll
but I'll
figure
find
it
out.
out. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Those are awesome ideas.
All right, the next item is tabling at city and community events.
So just a brief update here. If you remember when we surveyed our cities back in August, we asked them in the coming fiscal year for an event that would be good for the authority to have a presence at. Many gave us a response, so we're working through those. We're working with Elisa. We're using our student volunteers. We will possibly, as they come up, I think we have Sunrise and Lighthouse Point for January. Maybe possibly handing the toolkit off to that commissioner so they can bring it with them, if it lands in the right time. The only, that's the kind of the only issue with this system is they're a team of two, making sure the toolkit gets on site and, is ready to go. So we're working through that, but the idea is that every city will be touched with an event if they have one between now and June.
I just want to say that I was doing, was it last week or week before last? I was at the Weston, the Run for Tomorrow marathon, and I saw the outreach team there, and I thought that was really great. The activation looked really nice. People were enjoying a lot of the promo items that we have on the table. If I were to have any feed forward, it's just for us to make sure that we have some language around telling people about the master plan and to make sure that the student volunteers have really simple, age-appropriate language that they can use. And then if we had something that we could say to people, we encourage you, follow us on social, go on the website to learn more, and then have a conversation with your commission. Because we need residents to be a part of the push, right? It's got to come from several different sources. So I just think it's really important that we do that. That needs to be 100% the call to action every single time, every conversation. Oh, did you know that we are putting together a 40-year master plan?
We'll set them up with talk points and kind of a short to do. I think you also mentioned, obviously having them get a photo, some B-roll would be great. Pictures of themselves. We need more us out in the community. So yes, can do.
And sure, just a quick question. So on that, I think that's I agree 100%. On that material, I'm wondering if I totally agree that for this to be successful, there needs to be a grassroots effort, a push to the commissions that, wow, my residents are actually talking about this. I better wake up and really think about what does this. And so what I'm wondering, and I'm truly just wondering, asking, I'm not proposing this, but I'm wondering if we should have a way does it make sense, like have a QR code to go to it where they could see who their commissioners are, so that they can, with maybe an email address, maybe a phone number, I don't know, where they could send a note. I don't want to be ambushing the commissioners, right? So that's why I'm hesitant to even say that. But I'm sure a lot of people probably have no clue who their commissioner is.
Well, I think that, well, what came up for me, the idea that came in my head while you were talking was an advocacy toolkit. But I think that that's something that through our community partners, maybe to have something like really simple and perhaps our partners already do, right? Like how a regular person can have a conversation with their electeds about this. A lot of times when you see advocacy toolkit, they have sample language for an email, and that's kind of where some of that lives. So maybe that becomes one of the conversation with a lot of our community partners like the Sierra Club, the League of Women Voters, and others who I know are pushing from their end as well.
I like that.
Yeah.
I was hesitant even to bring it up because I know it's a two-edged sword. And I don't
Yeah,
want to
yeah,
go there.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I would, and then that's something that's not coming from the authority,
Yeah,
right? But
yeah.
it's coming from our community partners. So perhaps that could be, who's working with them?
I think we can do that. PIOs.
Yeah, Amy on my team is our community outreach coordinator. She works with the League, Sierra Club, and then all of the PIOs.
Yeah, so just have some sort of thing so that as they're educating their members, then they know. So for example, for those who are going to be activated in Lauderhill, like I have Leah Weisberg live in Laud. She's one of my residents and she's very active in Sierra Club. So Leah and other residents like her for whom this is an important issue, if we were to give them talking points and email points, text points. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, and so the to close that item out, the other thing is the photos and the video should be shared on social media. The ones that I sent you, I thought, did you get a lot of engagement?
I will check. I don't have that, and I don't know if they've actually been posted. We
They
have
were,
our,
I saw
they
it.
were, okay,
Mhm.
great.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I will check.
Okay, and then I don't know if you have it for this meeting, but I think that every time we meet, I would like to see the numbers, like the KPIs.
So we're gonna do quarterly reporting, so you'll
Okay.
get your October through December in our January meeting, and we'll be going through that.
Okay, but you guys are monitoring it though, so if we need to pivot, we can.
Yes.
Okay. All right, nothing else on that. We'll move on to the next item. Recycling rights, the PIO toolkit.
Yes. Quick update here, PIO toolkits separate from commission toolkits were distributed on December 5th. We have our two quarterly meetings coming up, one in February on the 19th, and the next one will be May 21st with all of our PIOs. We did, and thank you, Lauderhill, for sending it out via email, but we came up with a creative idea for this time. As you know, a lot of cities have their printed newsletters going out in January. So what we did was, can you guess how much waste we're creating in Broward County? And then we put the answer at the bottom where they have to flip it upside down, which is awesome because it'll, I think, create some engagement. Same for digital, like hopefully our efforts help residents read the whole newsletter. If they have to go all the way to the bottom to find the answer. So we're just, continuously coming up with ways to make it fun and engaging and just get eyes on our stuff. So those toolkits went out, we're working through it. Good response so far.
So for the February and March meeting, those are, and maybe this will be in person.
February 19th, up to you. You
Yeah,
can
I
do in
think it should be
person.
in person.
Sure.
Because part of the reason why I'm excited about this whole PIO thing is because I don't believe that there is an association for public information officers. And so this will give them a chance to connect, to network, and then we'll then now be seen as connectors for people in that space. And if you send it out early enough, like in January, they get a month's notice, then they can plan accordingly. So do you want to host it in your city? If not, I'm happy to host it.
Oh, I would love to. Yeah, I would love to. Awesome.
Yeah, Because you're central still, right? Or you're mainly
West.
south? You're what?
But I would love to do it.
Okay.
If it's, you know.
I'm happy to have it wherever. We'll
All
make
right.
sure there's water and
Great.
cookies for people or whatever they want to eat.
So
Yeah.
just send me the date and I'll make sure it's all cleared
Yeah.
with administration. We got a room.
February 19th, 9 a.m. We might want to push it to 9:30 just to give
Mhm. Give
people.
people a chance to get there.
PIOs typically get online early, but
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
maybe
then
we'll
maybe
do
you can
9:30.
have a Zoom option for those who can't be in person, so then it becomes a hybrid. I don't know if doing that discourage people from coming, but I think that
Overall,
works.
you get more involved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is what we want. So that's what I would do.
great.
Okay. Anything else on that? Moving on. All right, item B. Hard to reach population.
So from our last meeting in November with the PIOs, the two takeaways were we asked them to share a trusted voice with us in their community and to just define their hard to reach populations. Trusted voices we have received from Miramar, Weston, Lauderhill, Tamarack, Hollywood, Parkland, and Davie. My team's following up with the rest. You know, of course, everyone wants it to be an elected. I don't have that. I don't have. No, we have. These are the ones that my team has confirmed community voices from. If you give me 1 minute, I'll pull it up. Okay, in the central area, we have Brent and no last name, and of course, my team will be working hand in hand. Okay, and in the northwest section, Eula.
Yes.
Okay. So we just need one. We can go with Eula if you'd like. Okay. Removed. Okay, so we have our trusted voices from Miramar, Weston, Lauderhill, Tamarack, Hollywood, Parkland, and Davie.
I just say, I think the ranch is they're fully engaged. I'll just say that. So
Yeah.
I think we're good.
I think we're good. On the hard to reach populations, several said they didn't have any. Parkland, Wilton Manors, Lauderhill, some of those smaller cities. Yes, no hard to reach. Lazy Lake, Coral Springs, Lauderdale by the Sea, Sea Ranch Lakes, and Margate. And then we have no response from Pembroke. These are the who Amy's working to get in touch with. Pembroke Park, Oakland Park, West Park, and Deerfield.
Okay, so Lauderhill does have
Okay,
a hard to
great.
reach population. So the hard to reach population are folks that the city is not successfully reaching, like people in 33311 who live in the housing area, like that were the a high number of Section 8 housing. So places like Lauderhill Point, places like the Circle, places like Devon Hut. And so to reach that population, they're really not fully engaged in the city's email, social media. So how I reach them is boots on the ground. And how I reach them is sometimes through digital media and then texting.
So we have it in your under this item. This is why it's here. But I would like to talk about our direct mail campaign. We have monies allocated in this year's budget for resident materials, and we thought we would use it on our hard to reach populations for this year. And that's why we're asking the cities to identify the pockets so we can pull lists in those specific areas. Are you all open to that?
Yeah.
Okay. What kind of approval?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So I think pulling it by zip, well, let me ask you this. Can you get the list by census tract?
The mail houses do it based on what the United States Postal Service has on file. That's what they pull from.
But the zip code, I think there's a second part of a zip code, right?
So what my team usually does is we pull, like when we get all this from the cities, we pull up a map and we draw circles around the areas.
Okay,
and give them kind of more like a GIS type situation.
perfect.
And we say, give us all the homes in this circle, give us in this circle, and then they'll tell us if there's some sort of area, and we'll work through that.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
I think differentiating by income, right?
Yes.
Because people who are making below livable wage are not going to care about this. They're going to be concerned about feeding their families, right? So if my recommendation is to overlay whatever zip code the city gives you, and then to identify within that zip code where the pockets of poverty is. Does that make sense? So for Lauderhill, for example, if you were to drill down by census tract, like I have a map in my city that I know what the statistics are by census tract. And so that still works.
It's great.
So I would overlay income.
You know, there's over 2 million people in the county.
I know.
So we're going to have to, even with, I don't even know that we're going to get to all the cities with the budget we have allocated for this year. So I think us getting it all down, getting the map down, bringing it back to you. That's why I have it slated for January through March. I think
Okay.
in January, we make the tough decisions. Look, we can reach X amount with this budget that we have, and we decide what those cities are, and then and then we go from there.
That's fair.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing too, so this is just with the recycling message, right? Or is this the get to yes message?
This is educating the community. So reducing contamination and recycling and just alerting people that we have an issue. We're generating too much waste and we're running out of space and we all need to work together.
All right, maybe we can talk through that.
Yeah.
If you don't mind.
Yes, fine.
Okay.
Good. Okay. So the things that we have slated still under this item with the hard to reach population and the trusted community voices is we have monies allocated for digital ad campaigns. This is where we were hoping to use the trusted community voices to film them and to have them help us with our messages. And then we also have traditional ad campaign money, and we were hoping to kind of bring this plan to you in January and then start executing on it February and March. Sound good? Okay. We also have paid influencers, which is item C, and we were thinking to use them around Earth Day. And I have a great update to share from the schools, but we thought that that would be a good time to engage the paid influencers. Thoughts?
And you're going to give us like a plan that outlays all of it and the timing and the distribution channels and all of that stuff.
Yes.
So we can see holistically how it looks.
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
There's another event in Broward County that I think we should consider being a part of.
Okay.
It's in March and it's Water Matters. And there's a lot of people that are sustainability related that attend that. And it gets out a very large crowd. And I think it would be a great way to, if we had some sort of a booth or something there, I think it would be a great way to get more of the message out.
I agree. We've worked with Jennifer Herado in the past.
Okay, good.
So, and we've actually worked on Water Matters and
Okay.
conservation campaign materials back
Awesome.
in the day. I'll
Awesome.
make sure we connect with her.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Let's move on to school partnership.
So I had a really good call with Susan Kantrick and her team on Monday. And what they're proposing, as you know, the $5,000 sponsorship got approved at our last meeting. And they're going to have a roundtable before the summit's going to take place February 6th at Pompano Beach High School. They're expecting 1,200 students. Before the summit kicks off at 10:30, they're going to have roundtables with the high school, 200 high school students. And they've asked if Commissioner Furr and Member Bowman can lead one of the roundtables. So that's one deliverable for the sponsorship. The second one is they'd like, after the roundtable ends, for Member Furr to give opening remarks about 3 minutes, very short. And then, of course, the Solid Waste Authority will have a table there, because then they circle, the students go kind of from station to station, classroom, gym, auditorium, and we'll have our presence so that we make sure we hit all of them. So they're very excited. They liked your idea of piloting the recycling curriculum in the 2 to 3 schools for Earth Day. They asked for some time for staff to convene of what those materials should be. They know that we have some money in our budget for my team to help them to fast track and create the materials. So they're giving some thought, and we're going to have our next meeting after the holidays, the second week in January. So at our next subcommittee meeting, I'll have an update of where they've landed.
Is Pompano a ALI city?
No.
No. Okay. All right. And this might be an interesting time to engage them. Yeah. Could we get a calendar invite to all of us for this event,
Yes, ma'am.
please? Okay, anything else?
That's it on the school update.
All right. Old business, anything else?
Timeline.
Oh, yes, the timeline, please.
Lisa can pull that up. I sent it yesterday. I know you wanted a Gantt chart. Remember, Don, I apologize, but so many of the things are ongoing and it just looked very chaotic. So I thought that this would keep it simple for now. And maybe when we get into just the 3 ad campaigns, we can move to that, because then we'll have a clear, like, in development, running, reporting on. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so the school update is, as you see here, the only thing that's really to be determined at this point is staff has requested that we wait on educating their janitorial and back of house staff until they get their recycling situation clarified on their end. They're working through a number of things with Coastal and their agreements. Any questions on the school section? Okay. The next section is our recycle right section. So we completed the filming with the Broward County students for this year, and those are running. I think we do 1 or 2 a month. We're obviously working with the trusted voices. That's the piece we're getting from the cities right now. So that's in process. The event partnerships also ongoing. The toolkits, we're providing 1 a quarter to them. We just completed quarter 1. And then, as I mentioned, we're trying to do the paid influencers around Earth Day. To be determined, now that I have your feedback on direct mail and the digital campaigns to use our trusted voices and things, we'll get those in the mix. The only 2 items we have now remaining in this section would be the focus group. There was some light discussion around perhaps using it to test future messaging around behavior change. I know we're not quite there, so we can just table that item for now. And then the Recycle Across America assets, I think those were posters.
Those are posters, but I think for the cost, we can work through some local messaging.
Do you want me to remove that, leave it on there?
I think
Leave it on.
Leave it on.
Yeah. I have a question actually that I should have asked previously. Are you going to share with us the influencers list
Oh, yeah.
and all of, their
Everything.
links and all of that so that we can take a look at it?
Absolutely.
Okay. And then my other question is, when do you think that you'll have like a campaign assets that we could test with the focus groups before we deploy any of that, from the direct mail all the way through to the digital campaign?
I guess my question is, do you think we need it at this point because we're messaging on the existing system that is still very you know, broken up, as opposed to when we made this plan, we were moving into RFPs already and it was a different track and we were probably getting to behavior change sooner, as opposed to now is like, it's a little different.
So if you were to boil down the messaging phase that we're in now in one sentence, what would that be?
We're generating too much waste and we're running out of where it needs to go. And we all have to do something now to help with that.
Okay. And when do you anticipate that the behavior change message would be appropriate?
When we go to recycling for everyone and everyone's recycling in the same way, and we roll out some of the diversion programs that are not yet online.
But when would that be though, is my question.
I wouldn't say that's at least until after, at least in second quarter 2026.
After the vote or before the vote?
No, it would have to be after the governing board and the executive committee approve, obviously, the master plan and then send out the recommendation for the facilities amendment.
Okay, see, that's why I'm suggesting that we get ahead of it, right? Because that's in 3 months.
That's in March. March 20th
Yeah,
would be
that's-
there,
That's in
but
3 months. So,
but we wouldn't, at that time, we would not know exactly the
Right.
programs. We wouldn't really, the only program we would really know at that point would be is if one of the recommendations is with regards to, and it would still have to go through that process for the master plan and the facilities amendment. That wouldn't even then be out for an RFP, which would be later, wouldn't say October of 2026.
See, the timeline changed, you know? And
Yeah, we were originally having the RFP, and we were trying to get everything done for the financial modeling done by March of this 2026. Now that won't be something that comes out until say September or October 2026.
so
Yeah.
then are you saying that the behavior change message can't start until October?
No, I didn't say that. I think the messaging is we need to do something now, right? And the messaging that Lori went through is what we need to focus on right now.
Right.
As far as the individual aspects of the recycling message, which would really be less contamination and the standardization and the harmonization of services. But if we spend that money on this now, it's a little too soon. We really need to focus on getting out the message on approving the master plan and the facilities amendment and working together.
Yeah, so I have a different,
But yeah,
I have a different take. And not saying getting it out now, I'm saying let's be clear on the big picture, one sentence for each phase of the campaign, the messaging campaign. And then let's kind of figure out, well, phase 1 is we have an issue and that goes until March, right? And then here are all the other things that need to be done from the master plan side, from, Mercury side, in order for that to happen. So we're moving in a symbiotic fashion, right? But then I'm unclear now after this conversation as to, well, when do we start having conversations about behavior change? What I'm hearing you say, Todd, is that we can't have conversations on making behavior change until after RFP goes out in October. And I find that to be too late. I mean, there's some basic stuff that we can start saying.
And that's where I think we're in a middle section. We know what the basic stuff is and what people can do now.
That's it. That's
Right.
what I'm
I don't
talking
know.
about.
I don't think we need a focus group. And I'm happy to do the focus group if
Mhm.
you'd like us to delve a little deeper or get some preliminary feedback from people.
Mhm.
But I'm very confident in what we need to be telling people now. I don't know that it's going to have value now. And
Okay.
like, I don't want to use the money
Gotcha.
necessarily.
So what you're saying is phase one is we have a problem, and that's until March. Message shift to start planting the seeds for behavior change. And that maybe that second quarter, right?
Yes. Until we have the facilities and the master plan approved and we're going to give people new abilities to do the right thing,
When will we
It's
get the
like,
master plan?
you know, we're kind of stuck.
That won't be, that needs, the master plan itself is something that the governing board will approve in March, but the facilities amendment is going to be not approved, hopefully it has to go through each city with the resolution. Won't happen until the latest date that can get approval is the end of July. And then October 14th is the deadline.
Okay,
Sure.
so go ahead.
I was just going to say,
I mean,
so
you see what I'm saying?
I do. I see exactly what you're saying, and I don't disagree with you. I guess the way I would look at it is this, though, just a slight different view, is that I think we have to move under the premise that the facilities amendment, the facilities agreement, and the master plan will be approved. Obviously, we don't know until it happens, but to wait until it is approved and then take action, I think is waiting too long, because it's a big county. There's a ton of people out there that we're going to have to communicate. And I think, to your point, I think we'll be behind the eight ball there if we wait that long. I think we need to start that messaging over the summer, before it's approved, while it's in the process of being approved. I think it will only enhance the messaging and the opportunity to get out there for it to be approved. But I think to wait till it's actually done. But I'm very sensitive that we have a limited amount of funds and we can't just go out there willy-nilly and do a message. There needs to be something that they can take action on, so it becomes more than just a message that they hear and is forgotten. And so
That takes real attention and intelligence.
it does. It really does.
When I say intelligence, and I mean cognitive intelligence, I mean like resource intelligence, like having the data or the messaging that they need.
The focus group is a really powerful tool, I think, that can really help us with the next stage of our messaging when we're getting to behavior change. Make no mistake, it's important. That's why we put it in our plan.
Mm-hmm.
And we have one for businesses as well. What I find works great with a focus group is when we did our initial survey, right? And we knew, okay, the people taking the survey are pretty much engaged. They're already recycling. They're on our team. We need to get to those who aren't and understand them. So I would love, what I find works great is, and we're doing this with the city of Plantation now. It's working beautiful. We do another survey potentially, and then we use the focus group to kind of drill down on the findings of that survey to understand. For example, we're going to create 8 new drop-off sites, right? Messaging is mostly what we're doing, but it'd be great if we had that focus group to ask, if now we're giving you a drop-off site, how far are you willing to drive? To make sure we can give them the tools so they can behavior change. It's one, I want it to be meaningful and I want it to work for us, and I'm happy to do it whenever. But that would be my perfect scenario, is put another survey out to the community to try and get to some of these populations we have not heard from, and then take them into a focus group and delve deeper and really understand what it's going to take when they're busy in their lives and they're working and they have families to participate.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. But I also think that it's important that the focus group tests out something tangible, not just drilling down, right? But do both. So how about this? How about at the next meeting that you come back with maybe a 3 or 4 phase big picture messaging approach, and then like help us to understand what the timeline is. I'm personally not comfortable with waiting until.
I don't think we have to wait all the way until October. You asked a question with regards to the master plan and the approval process, but we want to be able to make sure that we don't dilute any efforts between now and say March. all right, with regards to getting
Right.
through that.
I get that.
Then after that, obviously, we can do whatever you think is appropriate. It's still going to need some time because we still have to go out to each of the member cities between March and July and get adoption of the resolution, the draft resolution for the facilities amendment. So there may be a couple of dual messaging, but we may be able to pair those together appropriately where what we're trying to accomplish with the facilities amendment / the master plan and affecting behavior change.
Yeah, I'm confident that all of the campaign materials I just ran through, the direct mail, the trusted voices, everything we're doing is happening January to March. I don't need a focus group to make all those things happen.
No, I'm
You
clear
know,
about that.
I don't want to hold anything up.
Yeah.
A focus group is to get more information to drive your message. And I just want to do it at the right time when it's going to be of most value to us.
So suggest a time.
Yeah. Okay.
Suggest a time that does not have us waiting
Yes.
until October.
No.
I think in order for this to be effective, that we need to start working on it at least 4 months out. Like right now, you already have, your team is already working on what we need to push out between now and March.
Yeah.
To get us to yes, we're clear about that, right? So now what does phase 2 look like? What does phase 3 look like? How does a timeline for that complements the master planning timeline as well? That's kind of what I would like to see. What are your thoughts, Member Vice Cruz? All right, so
Okay.
that's where we'll go.
I like it. I
Okay.
think timing it around master plan approval right before early summer, perfect, because that's going to tee us up.
Good.
Great.
All right, let's continue with the timeline.
Okay, business outreach. This is an area we have not yet focused on. So I'd like to know when you'd like us, and our thought was mid Q2, Q3 for the businesses.
I think that they're going to be an important part of that behavior change conversation. And especially with the whole, composting and organics and all of that is going to be an important piece because the food waste is a real thing.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, because of being on this committee, I'm more conscious of how much food waste I have in my house. So yeah, I would time it.
Just so we're clear on with regard to the commercial recycling, and that is being developed by the C&D and the Commercial Recycling Subcommittee right now. We are developing a draft plan that will be available in March of 2026 with regard to the C&D program and the commercial recycling program and how to phase that out. And the first item that has been decided in that committee is to be able to focus on the thing that is the most pertinent or the most of the material that's in the current business's waste stream, whether it's cardboard, whether it's plastics, whether it's bottles and cans. And there's going to be developed a phased approach that will have it available for review no later than March of 2026 that will start implementing. Now, we went through with the TAC on Monday and the commercial and commercial C&D subcommittee yesterday about the fact that these commercial programs, the C&D program, is really the responsibility of each of the member cities, that it's something that can be pushed forward, whether or not the Solid Waste Authority moves forward or not after next year. This is something that has been identified as the low-hanging fruit and that each city needs to be responsible for in pushing forward. We'll be able to provide tools. We'll be able to provide template language. We'll be able to provide ordinance, timelines, but that it will start getting pushed out early next year. So in a parallel path to the master plan, there was some confusion with the TAC committee on Monday that the master plan and the facilities amendment needed to be approved first. That is not the case. The C&D and the commercial recycling programs can be pushed out as soon as possible. And we're going to be working on a parallel path to get those out as soon as possible because we've already identified that those are the low-hanging fruit that we cannot really affect change with immediately. So with regards to the education and outreach for the commercial businesses, I think we can coordinate with regards to developing that plan as it's being developed and the draft plan will be somewhat available with, again, March 26th. And then we'll focus on, obviously, the education and outreach that's needed for the commercial recycling plan as part of that rollout.
I think it would be helpful for this committee to have a draft copy of that plan before, maybe invite them to come and present that plan. Because they're going to need communication support in order to roll it out to the business. So I'd like, remember, Bart Cruz, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I have a couple thoughts.
Okay, go ahead.
So from a commercial side, you know, any business owner probably has a million hats, but two hats all, you know, they're a business owner and they're also a resident, obviously. So they'll be getting information that is appropriate at the right time for just the overall program the master plan and the implementation of that. I think as a business owner, so hopefully they're aware of it, but as a business owner, I think it's appropriate to notify them and get them engaged when they can participate. So that'll be different probably depending on whether we're talking about C&D, whether we're talking about recycling, whether we're talking about composting, as those things become more apparent and actionable. And so I think our plan should be based on a rollout that's tied to when those specific actions can be acted upon by business owners. Maybe 30 days ahead of time to let them know, and then it's here, you know, kind of a deal. And then hopefully they'll take action. It'll be on. But to tell them 6 months ahead of time that it's coming, I think we're not using our money in the best way. One other thought, just kind of tangent to that, is one organization that I'm involved with that I really anyway, I think they do a fantastic job, is Feeding South Florida. And I think we should engage with them because I think there may be an opportunity, rather than some material, not the majority of it, but some material that may otherwise go to composting, they may be able to use it. And I think they should be part of that conversation.
So what I'm hearing is that we are going to time everything, that we'll make sure that you have you know what the plan is, and that we have time to provide whatever communication support. So whatever the tactic this committee comes up with, we got to make sure that they have the communications tool. So let's perhaps put them on a future agenda so that we can all be educated.
Great.
We also have a focus group earmarked for businesses. So we might want to do that in March.
Yeah,
if we need, right?
We're saying.
Yeah. Okay.
So next step on that is for us as a committee to know a little bit more about that plan. And then secondly, for you to work through the executive director's office to time all of that so that we can give them the tools to execute the strategy from a communication standpoint. So then the timeline that you put here is going to be dependent on that. So everything works symbiotically.
Okay.
All right, the next part. That's it, right?
That's it. The last section is just the authority. So all of the public notices on the website and the monthly newsletters, social media that we do on a routine basis,
All right.
all mostly ongoing.
And then on the January meeting, you'll have a updated report for us on the KPIs.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any new or old business? Yeah, that's fine. Sure.
So we have it on record.
And if you'll say your name again for the record, please.
I'm really excited about the idea of the advocacy toolkit. I really feel like I need that to go to my city. It would be really helpful. I would also love to have a list of questions that you think would be helpful, like in speaking to neighbors, like about composting. One of my neighbors said, "Oh, it's really going to smell." So it would be nice to have a list of these sort of focus group questions just to talk to people in the community. Like, I feel like I have an answer to that. I mean, your garbage won't smell. but that would be really helpful for me. Because I really want to see this happen. So anything you can give me to help get out into my community is really, really helpful. I just have to read my scratch. This might be a really stupid question, Todd, but I don't know why it didn't occur to me before. But when we talk about getting out the message for recycling, we had done a tour of the facility way out in Pembroke Pines, and we saw the old facility, and they said that the new facility wasn't open yet, but the new facility is going to be able to recycle a lot more plastics. Like they said, probably 5, 7 things we can't do now. Can all the facilities that we're planning on using, will they all be able to recycle the same things? So that we can get a uniform message out? I hadn't even thought about that before. I thought about it when you were speaking.
We'll research that, but each of the facilities are designed differently. That facility that Waste Management is putting in is the most advanced.
Yeah,
technology
that's why I was
available right now.
wondering, how are
So
we going to get out a uniform
That's
message?
going to be a decision based on when we actually get out, say, the RFP for the processing of the residential recycling and who is the successful proposer. Obviously, we'll put a number of things into that RFP requiring those materials to be diverted, recycled, reused. But we'll have to see what the responses are. There's not every facility in Broward County is going to have that same capability,
Yeah.
but we need to understand what that capability is from each of the proposers for that RFP when it will go out.
Yeah, so how will we get out a uniform message if some
You'll-
places can do like 5, 6, 7, other places
All of it,
can't?
all the material that goes into the bin should be able to be recycled and make sure that we get rid of the contamination portion. Now, as far as the 4 and 5 plastics, there are options that maybe we can do in a couple of different fashions as part of that RFP, but we need to understand what their capabilities are first.
Yeah, I just don't want to confuse
Yeah, we don't
people
either,
and-
but we need to
yeah.
understand what the capabilities are based on that RFP response first, and we need to get that out later next year.
Well, it's just something to keep in mind, I think, because we don't want to confuse people saying like in the city you can put. in
That's
4
why,
or
that's
5
why one of
things.
the reasons we need to maybe hold off on a little bit of the messaging so that we get an understanding of what that is. Now, if Waste Management is a successful proposer in that process,
Yeah.
if that would happen, then obviously you saw what their technology can do.
Yeah.
Will that have an effect on the proposal itself and how the governing board and the executive committee maybe vote for the different proposers? Could be. We'll make sure that we have that developed into the RFP process so that can be analyzed.
That's
Okay.
in some ways, I'm thinking it's a shame because we want to be able to
Thank you.
competitively have them bid for it. That'd be nice if they could all do things.
All right.
And
So
that
that's-
facility
that-
should be online in February. There's actually an open house in February. They're going to be bringing a number of individuals out to the facility at Waste Management for a
Yeah.
review of it before they actually, officially kick off its use.
Yeah, it was pretty impressive, but it would be really nice if there was a competitor to them also. So
Mhm.
I'm just thinking of the money. Let's see.
Okay, another
And,
point or two.
I also wanted to say for the film with the, let me get off the microphone, for the film with the for the commissioners, I still think that saying we've chosen scenario is going to be really confusing to people. It's going to open up a bag of worms that I don't know that we really want to open up.
Okay.
All right.
Can I
Thank
respond to
you.
that just
Yeah.
real quick? So I actually had the exact same thought you did the first time I heard it, but you know what? I don't mind that because if it comes up, I want to be able to say, listen, the other options include, and I'll use the word incineration. And I want to be able to say that we are trying to do the right thing and avoid that. And that's why we need you to come on board. And that's my response to that. So actually, after the more I thought about it, the more I thought, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with
But
it.
then can you give us that so that when we go out into the community, we
Mhm.
need to have, we also need to have answers for these things. I mean, I really feel
That's a
like
good
I
point.
really want to advocate for this. And what Commissioner Dunn said, it's really true. I mean, I don't feel, it's not easy for just a regular person to get
Mhm.
up in front of,
Right.
their county commission and say, this is what I feel, this is what I believe. And the more answers that we have to these questions would be really helpful in the
Right.
toolkit.
100%.
So,
Yeah.
All
thank you.
right, thank you. All right, so just kind of summary, the action as I remember them. So on Friday, the revised toolkit is going to go in front of, but you're going to send that out before Friday's meeting. During the meeting, we'll have some sort of tech that allows people to vote on those 3 slogans.
Worst case scenario, we could do it.
We have it. But my team actually just used it for another client.
There you go.
They got it.
Okay,
We're good.
perfect. And then we are going to make sure that we, maybe at the next meeting, that there's some sort of timeline around the messaging and the coordination of all of that, so that we're all on the same page. And then we talked about a community-facing advocacy toolkit that residents and our community partners, just with basic messaging that they can use. We talked about hosting the PIO meeting at Southwood Ranches, and you're going to confirm that. Any other action item as a follow-up? Okay, fantastic. I could motion to adjourn. All right, so moved.
Thank you and happy holidays, everybody.
Happy holidays. You get 15 minutes of your life back.